Fora TV. The world is thinking.
Put differently, Islam, like all pre-modern religions, is undemocratic in spirit. No less than the others, however, it has the potential to evolve in a democratic direction. It is undemocratic in spirit in the sense that democracy involves political participation, and this is alien to religious traditions. If anything, they emphasize God's sovereignty and implies a power for the priests and a disdain for what the masses think. Democratic evolution has been difficult for all religions. To take the most prominent case, that of the Christian religion, the battle to limit the Catholic Church's political role can be traced back to Marsilius of Padua, publishing the Defensor Paxis in 1324, where he argued for a separation of church and state as well as for papal elections by Christian believers. It took another 6 centuries, till the early 20th century, for the church fully to reconcile itself to democracy. 6 centuries. Why should Islam's transition be any smoother or any easier? This means that fundamental and profound changes are needed in Islam for it to become democratic. And in particular, the Islamic law, or the Sharia, needs to be dealt with. The Sharia was developed in the 7th to 11th centuries, in other words, at a time when the idea of democracy was weak to non-existent, and the Sharia is deeply anti-democratic. It presumes autocratic rulers and submissive subjects. It emphasizes God's will over popular sovereignty and encourages violent jihad to expand Islam's borders. Further, in a very anti-democratic spirit, it privileges Muslims over non-Muslims, males over females, and free persons over slaves. If Islam is to become democratic, the Sharia must be excluded from public life. This means removing the Quran, the Hadith, the Sunnah as obstacles to the development of democracy. This was done in Turkey almost a century ago by Ataturk, who simply removed Islam from public influence. More subtly, some Islamic thinkers have tried to find a way to keep Islam but not the Sharia. For example, an eminent Sudanese theologian by the name of Mahmud Muhammad Taha distinguished between the gentler, more cosmological Meccan verses of the Quran that Muhammad received before becoming a political leader, and the harsher, more legalistic verses of the Medina period that followed his ascent to power. Taha argued that the former, the Meccan verses, represent the eternal principles of Islam, whereas the latter, the Medinan verses, applied only to Medina under Muhammad's rule. With this, he eliminated the Sharia, as it's generally understood. He made it specific to the 7th century and said it doesn't apply today. He didn't get anywhere with it. He's not been successful. He was not successful. But nonetheless, the kernel of an idea is there, and there are many other ways of approaching the Quran and the Hadith to make them adaptable to modern circumstances. This will be a difficult process, but it is a possible process. It would be a mistake to see Islam as unchanging, to see Islam as what it has been in the past. Islam is what Muslims make of it. Or to use a metaphor of Hassan Hanafi, a professor of philosophy at the University of Cairo, he said the Quran, quote, is a supermarket where one takes what one wants and leaves what one doesn't want, unquote. Or in my words, Islam's problem is less its being anti-modern than that the process of modernization has hardly begun. Muslims can modernize the religion, but it requires major changes. Out must go waging of jihad to impose Muslim rule. Out goes second-class citizenship for women and non-Muslims. Out goes death sentences for blasphemy and apostasy. In must come individual freedoms, civil rights, political participation, popular sovereignty, equality before the law, and representative elections.